I think of politics now less as left versus right and much more as top versus bottom.
Yeah.
Because
You're right.
I just see how we are all pitted against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean literally.
Sure.
These social media platforms, they only get clicks when there's conflict, right? They don't get clicks when we're having a conversation, when we're understanding each other.
Right.
That doesn't get anybody any profit.
Right.
And so the Rupert Murdochs of the world, the cable news networks, the social media platforms, the Zuckerbergs and Musks, these platforms are literally tearing us apart.
You're onto something. I think what you're saying is absolutely true, though, that it's not us versus them. It's the top versus the bottom.
And I don't know if everyone is fully awake to that we're getting played.
I don't think people are, and I think you saying it is very important.
If we recognize that we have far more in common than the stuff that divides us, then that's a threat to their power. It's a threat to their wealth. That unity, that loving your enemy is not just morally good. It's not just idealistic. It is good strategic advice.
That's part of the problem, is that the people that are in power want to stay in power. And the best way to stay in power is to enrich the other people around you that are like you and create laws and create a structure that allows you to maintain ridiculous wealth and suppress competition.
And divide everyone to keep them distracted.
We have showcased Texas Democrat James Talarico before. Now,
and again, this is very personal, given how important my faith is to me, but I'm a Christian, and I think there is no more dangerous form of government than theocracy. Because the only thing worse than a tyrant is a tyrant who thinks they're on a mission from God.
We haven't had any good examples of that in the past.
No.
There's not one that you go, well, that one worked out.
Right. And so this is people trying to use my religion to control people.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game, and we're seeing that here. I mean, I'm an 8th-generation Texan. My family's been here since it was Mexico. I love this state, but I've just seen people like Dunn and Wilkes just take us in this far-right culture war direction at the expense of actual problems we need to solve. One of the bills that didn't pass last legislative session was a bill that would have provided funding for flood mitigation and emergency systems to get the word out when there's a flood. And we literally just saw the consequence of not passing that.
He showed so many Joe Rogan fans not only what good policy could look like.
Texas is probably the hardest place to vote in the country, just in terms of the paperwork, the requirements, the hoops you got to jump through.
How so, though?
There's a whole host of things. The fact that we don't have online voter registration in the state, when a lot of other states do. I mean, think of all the things you do online. Voter registration is not one of them. The IDs that now count for registering to vote or voting are very selective. So, for instance, if you've got a concealed carry license, that license counts as ID, which I agree that it should. But a student ID from a college or university doesn't count as an ID.
You have to get a driver's license?
Yeah, you got to go get a driver's license. And again,
what
for
about
someone
passport? Passport would work,
passport.
Right?
But again, I didn't have a passport for most of my life, right? I didn't travel outside the country till I was, I was in my 30s. And so I didn't have a passport. A lot of people don't have a driver's license, especially older folks. So the point is that these rules get added on top of each other and make it even more difficult.
But he also heard this from the famous podcast host.
There is reason and good reasons to be disillusioned. I guess all I'm pushing back on is that second step of it's always going to be this way.
Right. It doesn't have to be this way.
That is the key step.
Right.
So I'm
that's
not
because you need to run for president.
Yeah.
We need someone who's actually a good person.
Well,
because the Democrats have very few candidates that are.
Can I actually push back on that?
Please.
Because we were talking about how politics has become a religion. This is one of the ways it does, is people put all their faith in a politician.
No, but I'm not saying that.
I've seen it with Bernie.
Yes.
People, and I like Bernie a whole lot, but some people treat him as if he's a messianic figure.
Well, because he's
Trump,
one of the
Trump
only
on the right,
ones,
people treat him as a messiah in some ways. Like,
Bernie's
this is a problem.
One of the only ones that's been remarkably consistent in his entire career.
I know.
And so
but he's still a flawed human being, right? I mean, just like we all are.
Rare. It's so rare.
I know, but my point is
that should be praised.
But instead of the change is going to come from your listeners.
Yes.
Not from me. Right? I can be a part of that. But I mean, if there's any hope I can give people, it's that the people in power, including the billionaire mega donors who basically run this whole thing, and I can get more into that if you want.
Please do.
But they are very afraid of the power that the people have.
He said Talarico should run for President of the United States of America. Recapping his session with Politico, Talarico said this: I just got the overwhelming impression that Joe Rogan is not loyal to either political party and is deeply skeptical of our political system as a whole. I think that skepticism also applies to Donald Trump, just like it did to Joe Biden last year. He'd also say, I got the impression the reason Joe Rogan has the most popular podcast in the country is because he speaks for a lot of people who don't feel like they belong in either political party and are rightly suspicious of a corrupt political system. Part of my nerves going in was coming on as an elected official, but I think I was able to shed some light on why the system is broken, at least at the state level, and why it's not working for people, and possible solutions for how to change it. While Politico's headline was fawning over Talarico, the National Review's Jim Garrity typed, and while Democrats haven't won a statewide election in Texas since 1994, all streaks come to an end someday. Some Democrat will win a statewide election in the Lone Star State again. Just keep in mind, colonies on Mars may arrive first. Now, if one has no clue of Talarico's work,
This bill is insane. This legislature legalized hemp 6 years ago. But instead of regulating this booming industry in our state, we are now going backwards to the days of prohibition. This bill is not going to stop Texans from smoking weed or eating edibles just because a bunch of politicians in Austin tell them not to. Texans will still use THC, but instead of getting it safely from a local small business, they'll now get it from the black market, from the drug cartels. This ban is a gift to the cartels. We are now telling full-grown adults how to live their lives. This is the nanny state at its worst. This is big government at its worst. I thought the Republican Party believed in limited government and personal responsibility. I thought the Republican Party believed in liberty and freedom. What gives us the right to tell an adult what to do on their own time? We are now about to throw Texans in jail for seeking relief that's safer than alcohol and less addictive than tobacco. Instead of fully funding schools, expanding access to health care, lowering costs of child care, this legislature is focused on banning a product that gives people a little peace. Texans use THC to lessen anxiety. Seniors use it to manage chronic pain. Our veterans use it to treat PTSD. With this ban, we are now making people's lives harder.
he stands up for marijuana legalization.
You claimed, quote, schools have been provided litter boxes for students identifying as animals, end quote, when you introduced this bill. Is that correct?
When did I do that?
That's a direct quote from your press release announcing the bill.
Provided litter boxes?
Do you recognize that as being one of your
Sure,
quotes?
I'll take you for your word.
Okay. Can you name a school where it has been confirmed that students are using litter boxes?
Well, what we do with this bill is we prevent that from happening, but what we don't take out, and I know we've talked about some active shooter situations, and there's been talk that this bill will ban the litter box for active school situations, and they're called the go buckets.
Okay, and so I just want to ask the question again. Mm-hmm. Can you name a school where it has been confirmed that students are using litter boxes? This was at the top of your press release. This was mentioned when you introduced this bill, created quite a stir among public school educators across the state. And so I'm asking, can you name a school where it's been confirmed that there are litter boxes being provided to students?
For this purpose, no, I cannot on the litter box side.
He calls out the conspiratorial BS from MAGA Republicans.
Is there a separation of church and state in this country?
That's an interesting question that has been debated a great deal. Do you think that our our
I
forefathers.
want to give you a chance to talk, but I also just want to make sure that I'm getting an answer to my question. Is there a separation of church and state? in this country?
Did those that first Congress, that earliest Congress, when they authorized the production of a complete King James Bible, was that a separation of church and state?
I'm just asking
I
you
know.
a simple question.
I think that I think I've answered it.
Do you know who coined the term separation of
I
church and
do.
state? Who is that?
I believe it was Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson.
Yes.
Yeah. Thomas Jefferson in that letter was referring to the First Amendment of the Constitution, the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause, which clearly create a separation of church and state.
I have some scholars here that can better answer your specific questions, and I am not that person.
Okay. We established that our founding fathers wanted a separation of church and state.
I did not establish that. I absolutely did not establish
historical
that.
fact established
I
that.
disagree
But
with that.
do you think the Constitution is foundational to our country?
I do.
Why doesn't your bill mandate that the Constitution be posted in every
Well,
classroom?
if you want to carry that bill, you can. I'm carrying the bill that I chose to carry.
Yeah, and I'm not interested in micromanaging what posters are put up in classrooms, which is why I would never carry a bill like this.
And he also calls out the inadequacies of religious fundamentalists in our government. In closing, I agree with most of what he said in the Politico interview. What I think gets me is so many people just bend over backwards because they are so desperate for some sort of Dem to win in Texas, to represent the state in DC. And what isn't talked about enough is sort of what Talarico discussed on Joe Rogan's platform. It is the sheer, clear-cut corruption in order for one party to benefit and the other party to be left powerless. On top of that, an important point that he made was when Rogan made the comment of, we really need you to run for president, he wanted to be abundantly clear. It's not about me, it's about the people. We shouldn't put all of our trust in a politician. Bernie Sanders is flawed, clearly. Every single politician is flawed. But it should be dictated by the people. It should not be dictated by a politician, which I thought was selfless, honestly. Confidently selfless. He's put up a lot of good stuff. I appreciate his advocacy. I appreciate what he's done in Texas. I know it's very difficult to do. He represents a sliver of Austin, I believe. So kudos to him for going into Rogan's podcast with an open discussion, clearly. Because he said he wasn't even prepared with a lot of the things that they were going to talk about. So I commend him for it, and I think he did a really good job. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYTsports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.